Hey there, and welcome to another episode of The Golden Age. And today we're going to cover an American tradition passed down since the Pilgrims' times when, it was tradition for Americans to go out to the New Mexico desert and take all their money and throw it in a big hole. And now they might not cover the hole, they might sometimes light the hole on fire. Some people have argued that they should be able to have their own personal holes in their backyard that they throw their money into. But the bottom line is there needs to be a hole for an American to throw their money into. Otherwise, it's not tradition. Otherwise, it's not right. And, the number of people see is the $40 trillion debt that America's come over. But really, what the actual number is unfunded liabilities that you should be really worried about. That's the actual problem. Now, not a lot of people have heard about unfunded liabilities, but it's simply things where, say, if it got messed up, you didn't have the money to cover it, like say a military base in the Middle East. Well, that's one of the things we would be talking about. And yeah, some people tend to see this as, well, just a little much to deal with because they just don't really know what exactly this even means. Like things like Social Security becoming insolvent. Yeah, so roughly less than 30 of it has been founded. There's like funded, I mean. And yeah, not entirely. Yeah, very sure that means you just need about 25 trillion more dollars to actually fund Social Security. Yeah, Medicare looks like you need about 48 trillion more dollars there. Employment income, military pensions, you need about another $8 trillion there, and state and local pensions, another 5 trillion there. Now, here it is exactly. The official national debt, just under. Well, actually, it just passed 40 trillion, so these numbers need to be updated. But yeah, that's on top of unfunded liabilities. The actual debt is over 126 trillion. Yeah. Now per citizen, that's about $250,000. And it's like, sure, I guess the average student going to university to be a doctor or something actually has a bill higher than that. But they're actually able to pay it off because they'll be doctors. They'll be working a doctor's degree, prescribing the opioids out to the masses in order to make that moolah, dealing in the real world, making the real cash flow, doing the things that Americans need to be doing, getting them done, getting it going. And this is the whole reason why we need the hole in the floor. If it's not a fancy idea like AI, if it's not something, where we have like the .com bust where it was like just millions of websites that nobody was using, all promising craziness, but like Amazon, the big tech companies like Google and all that, they survive, bought up competition. But yeah, essentially without that hole in the floor, we just kind of get nervous, like we need that. We need to put something in there. We need to throw our money away. We need to burn it. If we're not spending it, we're not making it. That's right. This is how technology just basically advances, and yeah, apparently we put computers first before people. We put technological progress ahead of, well, I'd actually not like to say social progress because that word's almost been a bit corrupted, and it's has too many meanings to too many different people. So it's almost like you should say something more along the lines of technological progress has been put above social stability is probably the more correct term, because it wasn't that long ago, around Reagan era, all these things were funded. Pensions were funded, and national debt. Now, let me just take a quick peek at that, because I'm very sure it wasn't even that long ago. What, when Obama come in and there was only 8 trillion in debt? American national debt here. Because I'm very sure this was actually very low in not that long ago. Oh, look at this. It was basically zero in 1966 in the 70s. Yeah, it was below 5 trillion in the 90s. And it was below 10 trillion. It was actually just above 5 trillion around the year 2000. It crossed above 10 trillion in debt in 2010. And yeah, it looks like it's more than tripled since then. Oh, America, how many holes do you got throwing all your money in? You gotta calm down with that one, I might as well share that on the screen because, it's like people love their charts, their visual cues. And yeah, there that is, right? So you can see where the recessions are and how that might have affected some things. But yeah, basically it all started off with a recession. Borrowed a little bit, another recession, borrowed a little bit, but a little one is a big one and borrow it. 90s. This was probably around when the Soviet Union collapsed, 1992. Not sure why they would need to keep borrowing because their major adversary at the time would have, been gone. So I'm not sure why they kept borrowing. Probably something to do with gas crises. Really took off after the year 2000. After 2008, actually, looks like was around when it really started to the economy hasn't really, the economy looks like it's just been broken since 2008. You would have thought with 9/11 and the dot-com bust, though. No, I guess that makes sense because there's an obvious upward pressure there. The line starts to go on a bit of a 45-degree angle. Then it starts going on a 70-degree angle. Here, it's at a 90-degree angle. It's just going straight up. That was COVID. Yeah, COVID, it was at the straight 90-degree angle. Yeah. And it looks like it might be kind of trying to stabilize a little bit. But yeah, no, there's another war with Iran. So that's probably just going to... Oh yeah, this chart's incomplete. It only goes to 2023. So yeah, it's probably worse than that. Definitely worse than that, actually. Oh, America, our favorite pastimes. Throwing money in a hole because it makes us so much more. It's how we make the future. It doesn't have to make sense if it makes dollars. You know what I mean? This is how money is even created. Without debt, we wouldn't even have money. The more debt you have, the more money, is just in circulation. So, I mean, this is all just good. This is all good for the economy, It's not debt-based if you're throwing it in a hole. It's okay if you're making a big bubble because bubbles are good, You have bubbles for all the big technology. You got a bubble for when the trains came along and railroad tracks. A bubble for the dot-com bubble. You need bubbles. They're so good, for so many reasons. Yeah, I guess there was the Chinese bubble. I probably should bring that up, actually, because the Chinese had like a $50 trillion housing bubble that's recently been collapsing. But they've done it in a way where they essentially they didn't have the whole 2008 meltdown like America did. They basically deflated their housing market without it just causing a worldwide catastrophic collapse. Of course, let's see. Oh, LinkedIn, why would you be the only one of a news source for this here? That's pretty funny. I guess we might as well throw it up because that's the only source coming up right now. I bet some of these sources have been deleted. It gets harder and harder every day to find the actual news. Take a look at this then. Yeah, China's $50 trillion debt bomb. What went wrong and lessons for India? Right, so, yeah. They've called it an economic miracle because ever since 1978, China's been throwing their money in the right holes, is what some might say, because, we were promised things like high-speed rails in freaking California around this time, and they still don't have high-speed rails, but China has, like, what, 20, 50 of them? Yeah. And California was richer back then, but yeah, look at that. It's just another thing, you gotta throw your money in the right hole, is what America might tell you. And if you don't got the right hole for throwing your money in, then you're not living in the golden age. You want to live in the golden age. We want you to throw your money in the hole. That's how you achieve prosperity. That's how you achieve success. This is the golden age we're at.